are officially in November, which means we are due an October wrap up, and here we are. I read 8 books in the month of October. I thought we'd talk about them, rate them, etc. I might just rate them on the screen and say the rating because I might actually have to think about it. Some of these I will tell you what they're about, others I will read the blurb because the blurb does it more justice than I could. First up, we actually started with T.L. Smith. If you know me, you know I love her mafia romance series, so I had expectations that were like past the roof of the house, okay? That is when he reads to me. Now, my expectations went from the top of the house to my non-existent basement, down below that into the core of the earth. That's how awful this book was. And you know, I love you, T.L. Smith, but I did not love this book. In this, you follow the leader of the main biker gang, and he's obsessed with this woman, but she's actually married to another bloke. But her bloke is awful and gets in a lot of debt. So he turns around and goes, hey, so to pay off your debt, I want your wife to read to me. That's all. She just has to come once a week and read to me, and we will start using that as payment to start wiping off your debt. As this progresses though, obviously he catches more feelings, and we kind of go from there on how their love starts to transpire and how she can somehow get out of her marriage, etc. It is such a fun concept. I think it just missed the mark. Next up, we have Mark and Mia. This is an Omegaverse book. Only book 1 out of 2 is out. Bear that in mind because I had a horrible realization when I found that out. In this book, you follow Mia. Mia is an Omega and she has no idea about it. Like literally no clue. So when 3 guys roll into town and they're like, she's an Omega, she doesn't actually know she's an Omega and there's no one keeping her safe. How does one tell her that? How does one tell her that? Oh wait, and she has a boyfriend that treats her like crap. That's not gonna work. We need to take her. We're gonna need to take her and we're gonna need to convince her that she needs to love all 3 of us because this is gonna work great. Honestly, love this book. I think it was so much fun. I devoured this in one evening. However, if you don't like anything to do with pregnancies, you won't like this. There is like a pregnancy thing going on throughout this, so you won't like it if that is the case. I've just moved you down slightly because my legs hurt. Also, I'm aware it's quite dark, but I'm in the UK, so it gets dark by 5 p.m. I know. After that, we had Hot for Slayer. This is in no particular order, by the way. I just add all my monthlies to my story graph at the end of the month. So this isn't in the order I actually read them in the month. But next up is Hot for Slayer. This is a novella by Ali Hazelwood. And I loved it. That was like excited hair pulling. I loved it so much. Considering this was a novella, I did not have high expectations, but my expectations were knocked out of the park, baby girl. In this, you follow a female vampire who is being hunted by a male vampire slayer, but he ends up hitting his head and losing his memory, and she ends up having to look after him, and you follow their relationship kind of expand with him not knowing who she is, and he's like, I don't know why I think you hate me because I don't hate you. And she's like, no, you do, you just don't remember. And he looks at her and he's like, baby girl, I'm telling you that this doesn't hate you. This is one-sided. And you follow their like little banter throughout their years of existence, but they only come into contact every 10 years. And they have this little cat and mouse game that they play. It's so flirtatious and dry humor and sarcasm. And it's just lovely. And it all wraps up in a nice little bow. It was perfect. Next up, we have Small Bow. Now, this is completely different from what I usually read. This actually took me 3 days to read and is only 122 pages. For this, I am going to read the blurb because I will not fully communicate what this book is about to the full extent it needs to be spoken about. So here we go. In November 2021, an inflatable dinghy carrying migrants from France to the United Kingdom capsized in the Channel, causing the death of 27 people on board. Despite receiving numerous calls for help, the French authorities wrongly told the migrants they were in British waters and had to call the British authorities for help. By the time rescue vessels arrived on the scene, all but 2 of the migrants has died. The narrator of, I'm not sure how to say that name, fictional account of the events is the woman who took the calls. Accused of failing in her duty, she refused to be held more responsible than others for this disaster. Why should she be more responsible than the sea, than the war, than the crisis behind these tragedies? I can't really go into more of the book other than what I've just told you from the blurb, because this is definitely the kind of book you need to read yourself to get the impact it's needed to give. So we're going to move on to the next book, and I just highly suggest you do read this book. We then went on to an extravaganza of a vampire romance in an academy setting. This is 4 books, but I've only read 3 books. But oh my lord, I have so much to say about these books because I love them, especially the first book. So the first book is called Bite of Loyalty. In this, you follow the main female character who is the last surviving relative of the Van Helsing family, who is a vampire slaying family. However, she gets turned by a vampire and has to enroll into an academy to train with other vampires, despite her only thing in life is learning to kill them. So you follow this really weird dynamic of becoming a vampire while simultaneously growing up to learn to hate them and also destroy all of their kind. This is a why choose with 3 love interests. Now when you say why choose, my ears poke up, and this is a delicious why choose. It is chef kisses, all 10 fingers being licked after a meal, kind of delicious, okay? If you like academy setting, vampire romances, why choose, you will like this. Don't get me wrong, it is extremely fast paced, so please keep that in mind. And there are points in this where the author touches on things and never again, and it's kind of confusing. So a big part in this that isn't a spoiler. The vampire sector in the academy is notorious for people dropping out because it's so difficult, but they never show that. They never show why it's difficult. They never show anyone dropping out, and they don't really show anything happening to her to make it really difficult, other than one tiny part, and it wasn't even that crazy if I'm honest. I think at certain points it does fall flat, but overall I devoured this book in one evening and a quarter or half of the second book immediately after. So I thoroughly enjoy it despite those. Just in case you were wondering, the next book is called Bite of Betrayal, and then the third one is Bite of Vengeance. I am planning on reading the 4th one in November. And finally, we have The Alpha of Bleak Isle. I did not like this. So this is the first book in a series of interconnected standalones, but they have not been released yet, so I'm gonna give them a go when they come out and see if they kind of improve. I'm going to read off the blurb for this one because every time I've tried to explain it myself, I just went on a massive tangent, and there's honestly no need for it. So here we go. He's waited half a century to choose an Omega. Lord Ronson Codgerson can stall no longer. He needs an Omega and needs an heir. Settled on the obvious perfect choice and determined to see his fate through, Ronson can't afford to wait for the next ceremony to claim what he is owed. If only he was more excited about the match. They call her Mouse. Merwin Posey knows precisely who the Alpha of Bleak Isle will choose, and it certainly isn't her. In fact, it's so predictable it's almost boring. Resigned to her fate of disappearing into the background, Merwin takes the role of observer, distracting the ache of being left out with the entertainment of Dragonkind society unfolding stories. I feel like that made no sense. I either read that wrong or I'm just being a moron. Anyway. All is expected until the sudden twist in a familiar plot sends Merwin into the least likely direction, right into the arms of the Alpha. So in this, the Alpha is a dragon, which is it sold me, okay? I was like, wow, I've never read a book where the dragon is an Alpha. That's so fun, sign me up. But this did fall flat. The problem with this is that it does follow really stereotypical tropes of what women should be and what men should be, and honestly I don't overly mind that in books. I understand that it's a fictional universe, that's fine, but for some reason I have no idea why it just really irked me in this book. It hasn't in others, but this one I just kind of struggled with it. But Mouse is really cool. She is a really cool female character in this. I love Mouse. The love interest, he's alright. He's alright. Honestly preferred his brother, if I'm honest, and he doesn't get that much screen time, and I wish he did. Now this did get a 4.11 review on Storygraph, so I'm definitely the problem here. I think I just didn't enjoy it, or maybe I was in a bad mindset to read it, I'm not sure, but usually I love books that are an Omegaverse book, so take that as you will, because usually I love them. And that is everything I read in the month of October. I didn't read as much as I thought I would, but I think sometimes when I read a series, I take longer to read them because I just need a minute if I'm going to pick up another book. Do you know what I mean? I can't go from a vampire romance to another book immediately. I need a couple days. I need a breather. I need a palette cleanser. And that palette cleanser was painting my house. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I am about to film my November TBR. So that will be up very, very soon. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.